Disclaimer. This is an entirely subjective video made first and foremostly for entertainment. The ratings in this video are in no way a reflection of a certain item's absolute gameplay viability. Good morning, my dearest audience. My name is but you can just call me Professor Mem. In this video, I'll be rating all of the Assault class's primary weapons in Battlefield 5. I'll rank them in number 1 through 10 based on multiple factors including usefulness in gameplay, visual appeal, and my personal taste. To be honest, most of these guns are pretty good. There's nothing here that I would consider to be of Liberator quality, but then again, that is an impressive amount of unimpressiveness. We have 16 entries to get through this time, rather than just 11 and 2 halves. So don't expect me to give a 1.5 minute long rant on each gun. And away we go. Starting with... Alright, if you think I'm taking off my weapon skins for this shit, you are out of your mind. Sturmgewehr 1.5. The Assault class's starting weapon, classified as an assault rifle. Now bear with me as I go off on a tangent right away. This won't just be useful for this video, but future ones as well. Here is a line graph on which Battlefield 5's automatic weapon classes lie. Save for a few exceptions, all fully automatic guns in the game can kill in 4 body shots at point blank range. But the different weapon classes fall at certain points on the line, where as your hipfire radius gets worse, your bullets tend to fly faster and travel more distance before damage starts falling off. We'll just call this ballistics for simplicity. In BFV, assault rifles are here, with average hipfire and fair ballistics, situated between the submachine guns and LMGs. The STG-15 is a good first weapon for assault. In fact, it's a great one. The specializations it starts with are even perfectly to my liking. The thing is, it's honestly kinda boring? It's pretty much in the perfect middle of the assault rifle fire rate spectrum. Okay, second low effort line graph for the day. Rate of fire goes up, control goes down. Pretty self-explanatory, necessary for game balance. Anyway, for the game's assault rifles, the 1-5 is here. Not a bad thing, but... Where was I? Oh yeah, this gun looks kinda chunky and uninspired. Like a gun drawn by a child. But the Sturmgewehr 1.5 having one long slide rather than an internal bolt is different. And that's a plus in my book. 6 out of 10. Gewehr 43. The G43 is tied with 3 others for having the best damage and ballistics of any assault weapon. All of which I shall refer to as the Assault DMRs, because really that's what they are. Capable of killing in 3 body shots out to 100 meters, this one is to semi-automatic rifles, with the M1911 is to sidearms. It's also about as equally expected. The quintessential World War II German semi-auto. It also shares the same rate of fire, 300. With specializations for better hipfire and detachable magazines, it's a very good all-rounder for those that keep their cool. If you panic in close-range engagements, you'll flick too hard and waste your precious few and comparatively slow-to-fire shots. 7 out of 10. M1A1 Carbine. A handy little thing, the M1A1 may not at first seem like the kind of gun you'd want to slap a 3x scope on, what with its high rate of fire and lower damage, but let me tell you, I wouldn't play any other way. The recoil is so soft, and enhanced grips make the hipfire tight enough to satisfy even me. With a 30-round magazine, you have enough spare shots to hopefully dispose of any targets at close to mid-range before you need to reload. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, that doesn't usually happen, but I'm sure it's no cause for concern. I personally like the look of this Paratrooper's A1 better than the original stock of the M1 Carbine, a more ergonomic way to kill fascists. In any case, leave the longer range engagements to the DMR. Anything else? Your trusty M1A1 can probably handle. 8 out of 10. M1907 SF. The 1907? Sounds like you want an SMG for assault, bro. The old sweeper returns from Battlefield 1, boasting a much nuttier RPM. It really does have SMG energy. With thin proportions, lackluster ballistics, and high rate of fire. You can specialize it to have improved hipfire, but I honestly recommend getting the recoil buffer. I do have fun with this thing, but its operational range is certainly limited, as is its ammunition capacity. Wow. That's actually quite small for such a fast spitter. You'll find yourself reloading often, which isn't such a bad thing when it gives you something interesting to look at.
Just look at that.
Unique, 5 out of 10. Turner SMLE. A semi-automatic short magazine Lee Enfield, or SMLE if you will. 360 rounds per minute, able to kill in 3 body shots at close range, sounds like a good deal. It has a slower projectile than the DMRs, however, and only has half the range before becoming a 4-shot kill. Still, however, cursed with a clip-fed 10-round magazine. Until you get some specialization juice pumping. Detachable 10-round or less than detachable 20-round, I prefer 20-round. The bullets don't stop coming. Until they do. It additionally makes for a more distinctive profile on a gun that's essentially just a Lee Enfield with some extra greeble. I find it hilarious that the longest possible reload on this gun takes almost 10 whole seconds. Don't worry though, that won't happen often. A king of mid-range engagements, be sure to take a 3x scope. The recoil isn't punishing enough to negate its usefulness. Hey y'all, Editing Room Professor Mem here. That dumbass you're listening to just about 5 seconds ago, yeah, he forgot to say the ranking score for that gun in his original recording. So yeah, that's going to be 7. 7 out of 10 for the Turner SMLE. STG 44. The Sturmgewehr 44 has long been known as a laser beam in my personal circle. It is simply a good deal, Your Honor. Respectable rate of fire, respectable control, so good you want to disrespect people who use it. What's this? A mag tap? Unnecessary? Yeah. Shixi? Yes. As fire rates decrease, from the M1907 to the Sturmgewehr 15, you only have a little bit more accuracy and control at the cost of 100 rounds per minute. But going from the 15 to the 44, you trade 70 rounds per minute for a noticeably better increase. Truly an assault rifle. I give it a 9 out of 10. Selbstlader 1916. I'm gonna level with ya. I like this gun in concept, but its stats are quite horrible. This is our second DMR, and it has the worst recoil control of the lot. No hipfire specializations, and the slowest rate of fire of all guns covered in this video. Don't bother getting the accuracy upgrades. Its accuracy is already good enough, and there's no point in making it any better without the option of a 6x scope. Especially when the alternatives are so critical to quality of life with the Selbstlader. Dampening recoil and increasing rate of fire is a must. This gun's saving graces are its capacity and bipod specialization. Let the record show that I love bipods. Mount up and fire away. You can keep enemies at bay with high power and precision till your dad comes home. Get it? Because you have an absent father? Oh, was that wrong of me to say? Well, sorry. I didn't want to say till the cows come home because I figured you'd react worse if I brought up your mother. Whew, alright. I'm gonna be honest, that joke took a lot out of me. I mean, wow! That was really uncalled for. Okay, no more offensive jokes for at least the rest of the video. I don't know if my body could take it. No need for pesky stripper clips either. Flick the magazine out with this handy lever and nose in, rock back. But on the topic of mags, why pray tell can I only carry a maximum of 3 spare magazines at a time? I can carry up to 6 of these similarly sized, if not larger magazines. I realize that it's for balance reasons, but surely, just one more couldn't hurt. 5 out of 10. Gewehr 15. Ah, I see. Just the STG 15 but worse. Theoretically. Apparently when you lose a foregrip, semi-pistol grip, and fully automatic fire, your bullets get roided out of their mind and hit the gym because they can't fucking cope. Through the power of compensation, this gun is able to kill in 3 shots at close range with a rapidity of 360 RPM, but with a significantly higher capacity than the other guns with those traits at 30 rounds to a magazine. The damage does fall off sooner though, and more severely too, doing just 18 damage at max range. Recoil buffer and hipfire improvements are a must. I feel like the gun looks more clean without the foregrip. But other than that, everything I said about the aesthetics still stands. 6 out of 10. Oh, well, look at that. Brothers. M42. While this might look like a weak pick at first, having a 4-shot kill and a fire rate of 450 similar to the M1A1, but with a much smaller magazine. Fuck, it's not even worded right. I have to change the document on the fly. This might look like a weak pick at first, having a 4-shot kill and fire rate of 450 similar to the M1A1 but with a much smaller magazine. It only has a slight boost to damage, and is still not enough to make a 3-shot kill at point blank range. But what they don't tell you is that the AGM-42's muzzle velocity is as fast as the DMR's, and it isn't affected by damage fall-off at all until 100 meters. None of these other firearms can top that. I mean, sure, the Gewehr 43 can still kill in one less shot for that entire range, but we're talking about the difference between doing 45 damage at 10 meters, then doing 34 damage at 100 meters, and doing 28 damage at 10 meters, then still doing 28 damage at 100 whole meters. Matching the M1A1's tame recoil, this thing is supremely consistent. Let's compare the AGM-42 to the Gewehr 15, which is perhaps the most harshly affected by damage fall-off on the list. The Gewehr 15 may be able to kill in one less shot at close range, but it will take one more shot to kill at 100 meters out. And remember, the M/42 is 90 rounds per minute on this bozo. Detachable magazine specializations help mitigate the ammo problem and have a noticeable when taking them out that I find aesthetically pleasing. Not to say that I don't like its fixed magazine reloads. While it looks like it would be a pain in the ass for a real soldier to perform, I like its complexity. And we always finish with a ch. Why do I only use a 2x scope on this Swede? Who knows, maybe I should change that. 7 out of 10. Ribeyrolles? 1918. Ribeyrolles? Sounds like you want an LMG for assault, bro. It's true. Slow and steady and with a bipod for extra fun, I suppose you can say that the Ribeyrolles has recoil, but fires slow enough to practically fully reset the muzzle before the next shot is fired. Its appearance is just what you'd expect a proto-assault rifle to look like, and I wouldn't recommend holding it by the magazine. But nonetheless, the Ribeyrolles was the first assault weapon that I fell in love with. A 2x aperture sight is a good choice, helps with those long-range skirmishes that the Ribeyrolles is quite qualified for, yet not obnoxious enough to interfere with close quarters combat use. 8 out of 10. MAS 44. A blocky gun adjacent to the SMLE, having the same rate of fire and damage fall-off, it is capable of obtaining a detachable magazine, and, according to unconfirmed sources, has a higher muzzle velocity than the DMR's. Will you give it even more? I don't recommend it. With recoil buffer, you get more control than the Turner, which already has an appreciable amount of not jumping all over the place. Don't forget the hipfire upgrade, it will serve you well. The MAS 44 seems more like a ramshackle semi-auto, with an external magazine catch and quite frankly oversized charging handle, but it works well, so I'll give it a pass. 7 out of 10. Breda M1935 PG. The only gun in the game to have a burst fire mode, it is also the only assault rifle to have damage this good. With a maximum damage per shot of 30 and a minimum of 22, it'll never take more than 5 body shots, which is pretty rad considering that each burst fires 4 shots. Getting the trigger job upgrade seemingly eliminates time between bursts, allowing the gun to work similarly to a fully automatic one, albeit only aesthetically. However, recoil is harsher than its most comparable Ribeyrolles, which gives it a tendency to climb towards heads, but limits its usefulness at range. I like the sound the Breda makes while firing, and being able to see how many bullets are in my magazine twice is twice as nice. But honestly, there aren't too many reasons not to use other options. A neat gimmick, but there are guns better suited to long range and assault rifles that operate more steadily. 5 out of 10. Karabin 1935M. Now this is a real diamond in the rough. The third DMR on our list seems to be so often overlooked, but properly spec'd, the Karabin's stats are a direct upgrade from the Gewehr 43. I guess the trade-off is not having the option for detachable magazines anywhere. You'll be topping up this thing with clips and singles for the rest of time, but it's honestly not enough of a deterrent with this upgrade and control. The Karabin has an unassuming yet easy to understand appearance. You can tell right off that it's a solid built semi-automatic. I've used this thing to fend off snipers plenty of times, but that's far from the only use case. Versatile for all you Swiss Army gamers, not at all hard on the shoulder. Staying on target with such a strong rifle is power, and you didn't even have to sell your soul for it. I give the Karabin 1935M a 9 out of 10. M1 Garand. It certainly took its time getting to the game, but the Garand was a welcome addition to Battlefield 5's roster. And for the longest time, I detested it. I didn't use it much because I'm a hipster, and I used to be upset by how quickly and accurately people were killing me with it. In short, I am disturbed that it took me so long to come around to the Garand. Like I'm some kind of not citizen of the United States. It has damage and ballistics akin to the Turner and MAS 44, but has less vertical recoil than both of them, even after they've had their recoil reducing specializations, of which none can be found for the Garand. And a good thing too, if this American classic had any less recoil, the muzzle would probably jump downward. Of course, you have your distinctive pings, you've got multiple randomized reload animations, Garand thumb, and never before seen upgrade paths. One that turns it into another DMR. Don't bother, there are already enough of those, plus it negates the god tier recoil control. Or, more excitingly, the rifle grenades. That's a nice bit of extra utility, and just look at your soldier work that action. Don't mind the cartridge that actually flies out when you fire, pretty sure that's an illusion. And how do you solve that pesky problem of not being able to reload mid-mag? Why, just tug that bolt handle hard enough and the rest of your clip will kindly fly out with enough force to get its own kill. They've even properly modeled how many cartridges you have left unfired, something that could easily be missed. But they went ahead and did it anyway. 9 out of 10. M2 Carbine. M2 Carbine? Sounds like you want an SMG for assault, is what I would say if this gun wasn't so good at range. Okay, aside from the fact that I already made that joke. Like twice. I think this thing's stats are too good to qualify. Alright, sure. 830 rounds per minute in exchange for less damage. 5 body shots at closest range, yada 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 yada. But I mean, look at this. Here, I'll give the M1907 the exact same specializations. Despite having a higher rate of fire, the M2 Carbine has higher accuracy, tighter hip fire, and more control. Hold on, I thought guns of the same class weren't supposed to have innately better hip fire values than each other. No, that aside, this thing just spits in the face of power balance. It lies here on the fire rate control graph. Off the line. Trust me, this one more bullet thing won't hold you back, especially with this many bullets to spare. Let me introduce you to a term that will be used again. Shitter weapon. A shitter weapon is a weapon invariably used by shitters. What is a shitter? Well, it's an acronym. Slide, hip fire, infuriate, terrorize the enemy relentlessly. They love to slide around on their asses as a primary means of transportation, may seriously kick your team's ass if given a tank, and rarely stray from mainstream gameplay to explore meme or underrated strats. They're those guys that opt to only use the most meta and useful weapons. Despite the fact that each weapon is useful for different people and playstyles, each class seems to have a dedicated shitter weapon. The M2 Carbine is the assault class's shitter weapon. I admit, its stats are uniquely favorable, but I don't like fast guns. I don't agree with how popular it is, and I'm sick of being fucked by it. And what's with that design? Just an M1 Carbine with a wee little foregrip attached. 4 out of 10. M1941 Johnson. Guys, Johnson is good. Really good. The last assault DMR and the last on the list of all assault weapons, it is most closely related to the upgraded Selbstlader, with the same rate of fire, hip fire, and just the slightest bit better accuracy in ballistics. Apparently the Johnson's bullet travels 20 meters per second faster, but who's counting? But where it really shines is its control. When upgraded with recoil buffer, it has less vertical recoil than even the Garand. The rate of fire is low, you have a wide hip fire and the magazine is not detachable. But come on, the only thing stopping you from being a sniper is the name. Style points out the wazoo to the M1941 Johnson. Internal rotary magazine necessitating a unique side-loading animation, thick round body, and a barrel shroud. Nice. Yep. I always did have a thing for harder hitting, slower firing. 8 out of 10. Hey, what do you know? I ended up spending a lot of time on each gun anyway. There really is so much more to talk about than with sidearms. I have to consider specialization trees, different fire modes, multiple options for optics, and more wildly varying stats. I worry that I might be getting too verbose, but I don't want to leave any stone unturned. I gotta admit that assault is my least played class. I mostly used it to bully tanks and never did jive with the primary weapons as much as those of other classes. But I rank them for how good they are relative to each other. All said, don't take these ratings too seriously. They are affected by bias after all. Most importantly, I hope you enjoyed your viewing experience. Will any gun ever find itself worthy of that coveted 10 out of 10 rating? Who knows? I guess you'll have to stay tuned if you want to find out. Leave a comment if you have any feedback. I guarantee that I will read it. Thanks for sticking around until the end, and remember to stay hydrated. Professor Mem, signing off. Go get a tall glass of water with some ice cubes.